When preparing plants for transplant, you always, especially if you purchase them, you always have to examine your plants to make sure that you can get rid of all the pests that are on there. Putting all these pests in the garden is just going to allow them to run rampant and destroy your crops. As I'm examining these plants that we picked up at the nursery, I can tell that they are infested with leaf miners. And you can tell because you see all these veins going through the top surface of the leaves. You won't necessarily see it under the leaf because they stay above. They create a network of tunnels and they to remove the sap from the leaf. And if allowed to continue, they will destroy your crop. Now, how do you spot a leaf miner? They're usually yellow or black. All right, you can see them there. And actually all the true leaves of these melon plants, they are infested with leaf miners. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to just simply go through each plant and remove, just snip these leaves off. These are the true leaves. They're not necessarily helping the plants in any way or form. But by removing them, I would reduce the spread of the leaf miners and ensure better success in the growth of these plants. Welcome back to Seed Time and Harvest. I am in Jamaica and I'm going to help my family get their garden started, believe it or not. When we're thinking of where to put the garden, this area actually is the best place that we could think of. It was usually a garbage dump, a burn pile, so the soil is really good. It's really loose, it's really black, rich and healthy because everywhere else around the yard is really hard clay. It's very compacted, and while we can grow in it, it's just going to take a lot more work. So let's get started. Look at this soil. It's really rich. It's really black. I wish I had this soil in America. It's really nice. Okay, and everything that we plant in this soil is going to be guaranteed to grow. I have some seeds that I'm going to be putting in this garden. But for a quick start, we went down to the local nursery and we picked up some plants. Here we have a tomato. We have several tomatoes. We have peppers. We have some lettuce in here. These are cabbage. We have some broccoli, watermelon, and they even threw in a thyme. I was able to get some herbs. This is spirit weed, ideal for cold, anyone with children. Spirit weed in Jamaica is very good. I started some garlic. They usually store garlic in the refrigerator, so it was very easy to get this going. And we have chayote and we have a pineapple that we're going to be putting in. When we're thinking about location to plant, the shadow of trees and buildings is always a concern, but with this area, it's really north facing and it gets plenty of sunlight. The trees are behind me. It doesn't really matter how I'm gonna lay out my plants. I'm just gonna get them in the ground because they will always have the sunlight. Trying to find the tomatoes. I'm gonna be laying out the tomatoes first where I need them to be. And just gonna put down all the plants and then I'll get them in the ground. Gonna follow up the tomatoes with some peppers. Just thinking about my spacing. Here I have the watermelon. I'm gonna lay them out so that they will run over into the clay since these are vines. Okay. And this is where we've been burying our compost. Since we got here, we've just been putting in our compost. It's gonna break down and it's gonna add to the nutritional value of the soil. I'm gonna put these really close since they're gonna be vining out. Now we have a little spacing. And you can hear the roosters and the puppies in the background. It's just so amazing. Now that we have our plants all laid out, I'm just gonna get them in the ground, okay? So it's very simple. Once you know the spacing requirement of each plant, you just lay them out, and you lay them out by water requirement. All these does not have a restriction in terms of how much water they need, so I should not have a problem. The only thing with the brassicas, like your cabbage, your kale, your cauliflower, you need to compact the soil around them so that they can have a firm base. Okay, so once you put them in, just compact the soil around them. The firmer the soil, the bigger the heads. The spacing for your plants, you need at least 12 to 18 inches apart. For the broccoli, they're gonna support each other, so I'm gonna put them a little bit close. They're gonna be about a foot apart. Next, we're gonna put in our cauliflower, the same spacing as the broccoli, about 12 to 18 inches. And you wanna compact the base around your plants just the same. If any leaves are damaged, you just put it in the soil and that will be compost. The third item we'll be planting will be our cabbage. Same spacing as the cauliflower and the broccoli, along with a firm foundation. The area that we're putting these plants in is very fertile. What they'll have to do is continue to water regularly. The soil does dry out pretty quickly here in Jamaica because it's so hot. So they'll need to water at least 2 or 3 times a week. And I'm gonna show them how to make compost tea. Yes, they're pouring in their compost, but we're gonna make compost tea so that we can use that to water our plants and just feed it with a organic fertilizer at least every 2 to 3 weeks. Peppers are next on the list. We have some bell peppers, sweet pepper variety, 12 to 18 inches apart. I mean, you can bundle them together. They'll support each other. We're gonna get these planted and then later on we're gonna stake them. That's the tomato line. You don't have to compact the soil around your peppers, but just make them firm so they won't blow away. As you can see, the only tool I have is a machete. I don't have a whole lot of tools with me, but that shouldn't stop you from gardening, from planting. Just use what you have. This one tool will do all the work. I use it to dig, plant, chop, whatever needs to get done. We're gonna be putting in some Roma tomatoes. Not necessarily a restriction on the spacing. They will need support as these are an indeterminate variety. So we're gonna support them later, get them planted, make sure that they're not running because once they fall over, wherever they set root, that's where they're gonna grow. Next on our list will be our watermelon. Again, I'm gonna plant these so that they can run into the clay and into the compost. These are gonna be pretty close together since they're a vine and they're gonna be led away from the garden so they will not be competing for light or space. I'm just gonna lay them in the direction I want them to grow. And as you can see, I have left space in between my plants because I have some seeds of similar varieties that I'm going to be putting in so we can have a succession garden going. Everything we planted are coming up nicely. Here are the melons. They're all labeled. They're all swaying in the wind, and everything is just looking like they're ready to grow, to take off. It's planted close to the compost pile, so it'll be well fed in this area. Right beside the melon in this trench, we planted some string beans. These are not pole beans. These are rather like bush bean type variety. In this section, we have some bell peppers. Beside the bell peppers, I added some garlic. Everything is all labeled. Beside the garlic, we then have our lettuce plants. There's always extra space if we want to add more plants or add some seeds, which we did. The seeds that were added to the extra space that we had available are squash. Over here, we added some zucchini. This is the Black Beauty zucchini, and some scallion seeds in this little vicinity right here. Also, the cabbage and the cauliflower, they're doing really well. And right next to those, we have the broccoli. What I'm gonna do is we're gonna put a lot of garlic around them so that it will help to keep the pests away. It will keep any bugs from being around our plants so that everything has a good opportunity to grow. The soil is really nice. It will have a lot of nutrients to feed our plants. We will actually add some more fertilizer at a later date. And the final things we planted on this side in the clay were pumpkin and corn.
So here we are in Jamaica, the home of my wife, and we are gardening in Jamaica while we're here. And the Lord has truly blessed. The day that we were going to plant, the night of, the Lord sent a strong rain, a latter rain, if you will, so that the soil can be softened and we were able to plant that day. Then after that, in these last 3 days, the Lord has given us the early rain for the tender plants. Light showers have fallen every night since we planted. Praise the Lord. And we have met the condition that God has given us in Deuteronomy 11, where he tells us, if you keep my commandments, I will give you the rain of your land in its due season, so that you will have the produce, the corn, the oil, the wine. Praise be to God. He has been faithful, and so we want to be faithful as well. Although there has also been dogs that are coming in, because in Jamaica there's dogs that run free everywhere. So in our next video in Jamaica, stay tuned for that. We're going to put a fence made of barbed wire. So stay tuned for that. May God bless you. Until next time, make sure you like, share, and subscribe. And happy planting.